How are you, Claire?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you all?
Good. Good. Yeah, had an interesting week. No, like in a good way. I had like a moment of like that could have become a big like, oh my god, what I'm gonna do, you know. And it was really cool just to be able to see this so coming. Just to give you a bit of context, it's a silly example, really short. It's not, they're not going to do us the whole call, but it's just, that was quite cool to observe. It was like, someone asked me for a report. I was like, oh, sure, open my thing. And then all my tabs with all my charts and beautiful thing that I had worked on it like for the past year was gone. I was like, interesting. I was like, okay. And it's the thing that I used for the end of month report, and it was the 30th, so I needed the day after to do like report for all the clients. Anyway, all gone, and I could feel the, oh my god, what I'm gonna do, and I was like, no, that won't help me, so I don't have to go there. Okay, let's, it can't just disappear, right? It's a computer. There must be a logical explanation. And we're on Dropbox. I was like, I'm going to go to Dropbox, reinstate an old version if someone touched something, whatever. That was the only file that didn't have history. I was like, well, that's interesting. Or the most recent one was April. And I did so much since April. And obviously I used it. Anyway, it made no sense. And I was like, oh, how am I going to do? Because tomorrow I've got, even if I don't sleep tonight, I'm never going to have time to rebuild it all and And I was like, not helpful. Let's keep, but I could see how it was trying to, like overflow. But I was like, no. And even I messaged my colleagues. I was like, so at the moment I can't produce this thing. We have, hopefully it is a bug. And I almost went into this, oh my God, that's horrible, what I'm gonna do. And I was like, no, that I don't need to, because it'll be fine. So no need to go down there. Anyway, and I keep looking. In the end, I found it. It was just moved to another folder. Don't ask me why. And so it was all good. But then I went downstairs and I saw Yanni, and I was about to tell him, oh my God, I almost lost. And I was like, well, no, I didn't lose it. So why would I leave this experience of losing it and making it like, oh my God, I was awful and da. And yeah, I was like, oh, well, no, it's nothing happened in the end. But I could have stayed in this thing. And then I was like, well, or I can just start preparing dinner and have a good time, and that's it. And that was really just cool to experience that. And I know before I would have gone in such a state where you get to the point where you can't think straight. And I'm sure I would have found it. Where here, in the end, I was like, okay, I had space because I didn't let that overflow. I had space to, okay, I can try that. I can, and that was really fun. And I felt, oh my God, that's 100% thanks to this understanding that I reacted that way. That was really cool.
That's really cool, Sandrine, and also so much, so practical in terms of you got a great outcome, and so much kinder to yourself as well. Just in terms of the experience of finding what you thought was lost in the work, but also so much kind of, you could then have your, you could have your normal life, your evening, your, a nice time afterwards as well. So yeah.
I really love it. And I especially love how afterwards you didn't choose to go into the drama. I think I find myself doing that quite a bit, like, oh, like this nearly happened and blah, blah, blah. So that's really cool.
But that moment, that was quite cool because I really caught myself like, what are you doing? Why are you going to create stress about something that didn't even happen in the end? And yeah, it was quite, and yeah, it's true. We do that all the time. When you meet friends, oh, you know what happened? Da, 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 da. And at the end, oh, well, in the end, it was fine. Most of the time it ends up like that, right? And it's like, that's like, why do we need, why? That could be the question of today. Why do we need this drama in our lives? Why we have this habit of doing that? I don't know if it's a sleepy subject, but I don't know why we're drawn to that.
I don't know, it's the same as gossip, isn't it?
Yeah. But here it's not even, you're going to find that who cares about my file, right? That's not even juicy gossips. It's weird. It's like, I don't know, I think I mentioned that story. One day my sister-in-law came back and she spent the evening talking how she dropped her phone in the paint and how it's still working, right? But how, oh my God, she could have broke her phone and that could have been terrible. But the whole evening, when in the end the phone was working fine and everything was good. Why? In the end, why? And then you spend time in that weird space. Hi, Lizzie. Anyway, I don't have the answer.
Sorry, Claire. No, you go.
No, you go. Oh, I was just going to say I had a sort of a similar thing, actually, thinking about it now, because this week I had a job interview on Tuesday, and on reflection, there's kind of another story to that, in the sense of I keep having this habit of looking to the known in order to try and solve an issue, kind of thing. But anyway, that's like a separate thing. So I ended up going for this job interview, and it was a really long process. It ended up being a 4-hour interview with all these various different stages. And in the past, I would have got so nervous about doing any, to the point where there was a period of 10 years where I didn't apply for jobs because I couldn't bear the thought of having to go for an interview, basically. And actually, I've done a few recently and it was fine. And it's almost the same thing. It's like you can go and have a job interview, and actually it doesn't have to be a drama. It can be just, I've got this thing to do, I show up. And the weird thing about it that I thought to begin with was that you met the other candidates. And I was thinking, well, that's going to be really weird. Why would somebody set up an interview like that? And actually it was fine. It was the best part of it. I really enjoyed that bit of it. It was seeing who else had applied and, getting to know them a little bit and knowing that one of those people got the job. And just what you were saying there about, we can choose drama, or we can choose to just do what's in front of us. And it doesn't have to be like that, which is very cool. And again, same thing, for me, that is a direct consequence of this understanding.
And then does it mean that if we don't have this drama, will our life be flat and boring? Are we then, well?
I don't think so, because in the afternoon when I got the call to say that they'd given the job to somebody else, I was kind of like, oh, okay, so what's next? What have I got to do next? There was no ruminating in it. There was no, I'm really disappointed, because I didn't really want the job, so maybe that was different. But equally, there was none of that, oh, I wish I'd said this in the interview, or thinking over it. And it was a bit like you were saying, when you noticed that moment of walking downstairs and choosing not to go there. I had that moment in the afternoon of being like, I've got other things to do. I don't want to go into that. So I didn't. And it was very straightforward. But I wouldn't say it was boring. It was just, it was something that happened and then it was gone and I was on to the next thing.
Yeah, I said that I don't believe in it, but I know. I feel from what you see is you know, when you talk to people, oh, what's up, what's new, they're going to tell you all this kind of thing, and in the end you're like, and it looks like, oh, busy, so much going on, but actually that's it. It's like you can just talk about other things, like what we do now. We don't talk about our dramas, I mean a bit, but yeah, it's interesting.
The way it looks to me is that when you're not there, I would describe that as kind of flow. It's when you're not in the drama, when it doesn't seem difficult and all of that, then it's just fun. In a sense, you're just so in it, you're not really thinking about the experience at all. Because you just, like you said there, Claire, you kind of, what's the next thing? And you just go into the next thing. So, you know, when I look back on that, I think of that as what I'd kind of call flow. And that doesn't seem boring. That just seems, wow, you know, that when I look back on it, I think that was a really nice place to be. I suppose the other way I look at it, and I'm not so sure about this one, is that, you know, a lot of the drama side of it is also, you know, it's why we watch movies and TV programs and things like that, isn't it? Watching other people play out scenarios that, and I guess there's a sort of curiosity, there's an entertainment to watching other people go through stuff when you don't feel, I suppose it's when you've got some level of separation from it. It's harder if it's, you know, somebody in your family or a close friend that's going through a drama. That seems much more difficult. But when you know on some level that it's something somebody's written, then you can, I don't know, to me, I guess it is entertaining still. I don't know. What do other people think?
Yeah, and I think like it's a form of connection, isn't it? What we think of as connection with other people. Like, oh, I've got the drama of it or the humor in it or whatever, you know, I've got a funny story. You know, it's a superficial connection, which I suppose in, you know, sort of in our busy lives or in kind of culture, the way we are or whatever, is like, you know, everything's so fast paced. It's like, okay, well, then, you know, talk to this person and tell them this thing that's just happened without having to get necessarily quiet and deep and connect on a different level. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know for me sometimes it's like, okay, well, we're just going to engage because that's it's social. It's social to have a conversation about whatever comes up, you know, and engage in it. And we can all relate to stories about like drama because, you know, who hasn't lost something on the computer and nearly had a heart attack and it been a massive thing, you know?
I think, and I'm just realizing that now as you talk, is when I'm telling you the story now, and it's a bit what Frank, you said, when you watch a movie, you have this distance. Here when I tell you the story, I've got the distance, so it's a funny story. Where when I was on my way downstairs to tell Yanni, I think it was good not to go there because at that time it wasn't a distant funny story. It was I was about to leave it and get, you know, all the emotions linked to and really like almost believing that I still had lost it. It was still lost, sort of thing. And I think I like that. In the end, is as a story, it's fine because you don't get all these like difficult emotions with it or the fear and but at that very time when you like believe in it, you know, then it's good to be able not to go there. Yeah. In the end,
It's also
So
how you cast yourself, isn't it? Because
again,
it's also how you cast yourself in the story, which is about how you see the story. So when you told the story to us, you were the hero, because you had this situation and you rose above it. You saw the right thing to do and you did it. And
what
you
more
know,
the narrator? Yeah.
you triumphed over that temptation to go down that tricky emotional road. But you could also tell the story of, in a sense, how you were a victim of the circumstance, you know, and almost play down the fact that you ultimately came out of it. You could tell it with a view to getting some love and attention, some care, some sympathy. That's an entirely different way of telling the story and would elicit probably a different response in a lot of people.
That's fun. That reminds me about this book about Stoicism, how, and I'm not going to tell you the whole thing, but like, is really the guys like, when I get into a difficult situation, he takes it like a challenge. It's like, okay, so what's for me today? Well, I have, like you said the other day, like, oh, like, no, like, I have my lost file. Okay, and he takes it as, you know, if I'm getting this challenge, I mean, I'm ready for it and I'm going to overcome it. Huh?
Guilty. That's a man thing. A lot of men like to kind of wade in and try and sort out the problem. So if you share a problem, often women just want to kind of have some understanding about the problem. Whereas if you tell it to a man, a lot of men think that what you're doing is inviting them to get involved in solving your problem.
Well, that's an interesting made-up story right there.
Yeah. Did I say that? Oh, what a minute. It's so funny. Oh, no, I didn't say that. Did I say that? I don't know anymore what I'm saying.
I know what Frank means though, but it's not true. Women do it too.
I think what I meant was more like to see it as, okay, that's a challenge, but I feel it's a lot more positive as opposed to feel like, oh my God, this is happening to me again and I'm the victim and da da da. And I just like that is a more positive way to, you know, react, I feel.
I think the bit that made the difference for me this week with the whole interview situation, and the thing that has been so helpful over and over, is learning that your self-worth is not dependent on, like, you will, in the fact of being born a human being, you already like worthy of being on the planet kind of thing. And it's not like my sense of self-worth is no longer linked to somebody wanting to offer me a job. Whereas in the past, I think it would have been, or at least somebody saying no would have felt like a bit of a, you know, a bit of a kick to the ego or something. Whereas actually, when you understand, and in that moment you're aware of the fact that it's just they've simply chosen somebody else, it's a really different experience. Like, you're not your lost file, or like your lost file is not saying anything about your worthiness of being on the planet. It's simply a lost file. And I feel like that aspect of this understanding is just one of those areas that is helpful for me over and over and over again.
Thank you, Claire. That was absolutely lovely. I just didn't apply for a job this week, which was my dream job 18 months ago, 2 years ago, and I didn't get it. And it's come up again. And I was like, but the only reason I'd go for it is to prove I could do it. like, what's that about? Why would I do that? You know, is it to kind of, and it went all the back to like you say, proving your self-worth. Like, you should have chosen me the first time because I can do the job, you know? And I was like, well, that's just silly. I don't really want the job anymore. You know, so I didn't apply in the end because something in me was like, that can't be the right reason to apply. And you just spelt it out really nicely. Yeah.
That's so big to be able to look behind what seems, because initially you were like, oh my God, yeah, I'm gonna get it and show him. And then be able to look behind that and be like, well, no, that's not really, it's so cool. I love it. So many things that we do because we think we really want badly is not really that we want. It looks like, yeah, your ego is trying to prove something. It's so funny.
Bron, was it the logic or was it the feeling that told you that you were? Yeah.
I don't know. It must have been a feeling in the end because originally when I heard it, I was really excited and I was like, oh yeah, that'd be amazing and it would make life so much easier. You know, like there was lots of pros for it. But then as the weeks went on, waiting for it to come out, I was thinking, yeah, but more and more, there's not a great, you know, there's the feeling around it isn't right. And then when I got a bit curious about it, I was like, yeah, but the only reason I got excited was because I thought, oh, you can see if you can do it. And I'm like, I'm still trying to see if I can do not working in a job at the minute. And actually, it's quite a lot more fun. There's a lot more room to play. I quite like my life at the moment, you know, whereas when I drilled into it, the feeling was, oh, maybe I need this job to be secure. Maybe I need this job to be okay. Maybe I need this job to, you know, move forward. And it was very ego-based, which when I then sat with it, didn't feel clear. It felt a little bit, you know, even talking about it now is like, oh, yeah. Sometimes I hear this saying, I've heard it a few times, like, if it's not a hell yes, then it's a no. You know, I was like, okay, you know, in the beginning it was, but then also I'm getting a bit better at noticing, like I go very quickly with the first feeling that comes up, which is exciting and oh, yes, that's the thing. And then it quickly dies down, but I don't normally wait. I don't normally give myself space for that wait, you know, that sort of settling or whatever. So nothing was neutral, I suppose, is what I noticed, which the more I'm in this conversation, the more I sort of think, actually, you know, better decisions come from a more neutral place where you're not either overexcited and you're not over scared or whatever. It's just a bit more neutral.
I think the other thing that's interesting about that is how tempting it is for us to, because I noticed this in myself, how tempting it is to want to go into the known. Like, I'm assuming that was a salaried job and therefore it feels more secure, and that's maybe what you've done before, it's what I've done before, and so you sort of know how it works. Whereas where we're maybe at the moment, which is a bit more uncertain, it's more exciting, but also it's having that, or being prepared to be in that sort of discomfort of uncertainty as well. And it's so tempting to think, to want to sort of be swayed back over to the known, I think. And yet it feels, for me anyway, it feels so much more there's just more energy around the unknown at the minute, because it just feels like there's so many possibilities that could happen or could come from that, rather than, you know, you turn up to a job, you do what you're supposed to do, you get paid, full stop kind of thing.
which is a made-up story too.
Yeah, good point.
But yeah, it's individual, isn't it? And I think that's the beauty of it, is knowing what it feels like in ourselves at the time. Because, you know, part of me thinks that, you know, like I could have brought a lot to the role and potentially really, you know, like I've been in jobs where it's been like, oh, I love going to work, and it's bring new energy and potential to it. But yeah, right now it does exactly like you said. It feels like it'd be going back to the known. And the only reason I'm thinking about that is because the unknown is unknown. A bit scary sometimes.
Why do you feel this unknown is scary? Because to me, I tend to, when I feel that things are settled and secure, and that gives me anxiety, I feel like, oh my God, it means they're going to be, even if I'm good, they're going to be like that forever. Oh, and I need to shake things up and like for something else to happen. And so actually, when I don't know, but I know that it will be like different, I'm so excited. I'm just looking for that. And yeah, and I hear a lot of people saying how secure and not changing is reassuring to them. It freaks me out.
It's interesting. You know, I don't even think it's scared. Jacqueline Hollows, is that her surname? Yeah. She tells a story, I've heard it a few times, about, I think it was her anyway, about somebody interviewing Bruce Springsteen about how he feels before he goes on stage. Has anybody heard this? And how he feels before he goes on stage. Like, do you get stage fright? It's like, no, I don't get that. I don't get that. So, well, how do you feel before you go on stage? Oh, well, I get really sweaty and I feel like I'm going to throw up and I don't know what to do with myself and I'm pacing and I can't wait. But when I'm out there, it's okay. She's like, well, that's stage fright. He's like, oh, is it? I just feel like it's like an energy, you know, like a, what did he, I can't remember if he called it this, but it was like a participation energy, you know? And it's so funny because it's like if you think about it, fear, excitement and fear has the same kind of like, but actually, is it just a participation energy or an anticipation energy that we get, that we interpret in our own ways? So yeah, I said scary, but actually, I'm exactly like what you said. You know, I've never continuously looking for the next thing, the new thing. You know, something exciting, something that gives me whatever, but it comes with an energy that I can either interpret as fear or I can either interpret as excitement when I really dig down and, you know, look at it. And even my children now, I'm starting to talk, the ones like, oh, mommy, I've got butterflies in my stomach, I'm scared. It's like, are you scared or are you excited? You know, is it just an energy? She's like, yeah, I don't know, I could be excited, but it's there. It's just that we label it again really quickly.
Oh, I look at that next time I feel one or the other.
But even in the act of labeling, because when you were just talking there, Brian, you were saying something like about participation energy. I think that's what you said. And I never heard that phrase before. I was like, oh, participation energy, that's great. Oh, I'm going to tell myself that next time. And I was like, but why? Why does it feel better to label something? And I think it's because it categorizes it or makes it safe or makes it a known thing. And that temptation to make something better by labeling it or pinning it down, like giving it the wrong label, it feels worse. But just like, oh, well, that's a known now, then I've got participation energy, that's fine. Whereas what I actually really liked was the truth of what you were describing, which is there's an energy, and energies have different feelings. And all I need to know is that I'm in an energy, and I'm going to experience different types of energy, because, as Claire said, I'm human. I'm alive, I'm a human being. That's what I'm going to experience, is different types of energy. And I don't, reflecting on what I experienced just now, I think for a moment, it looked like I would feel better if I had a new fancy label to attach to a certain energy, one I'd not heard before. I was like, oh, participation energy, that sounds great.
I want it.
I want it. Where can I participate? What file can I lose to participate and get this participation energy? And now I'm like, no, so much better to see the truth and the fact of where Bron was pointing, which was to, well, all of you pointing to, we're feeling an energy. We're feeling an energy. We're feeling our thoughts. We're feeling our feelings. I know we're feeling our feelings, but we're feeling our thoughts and our feelings. And that's an energy that will pass. And going back to where you started us off, Sandrine, the difference between what's occurring to me is not controlling our energy or our thoughts or our feelings, but having a choice, or recognizing we have a choice over which ones we want to follow in the moment. Because what I loved about yours was you did have my new word, participation energy. You did have an energy come through. And for that particular circumstance that you found yourself in, you didn't, the way I felt, I was listening, that you chose not to, you weren't fighting it or wrestling with it or going with it. You were just experiencing it, and then having a different energy come in its place, because you chose not to be kind of, I think Leela says, not to be led around by by your feelings. Anyway, but to go back to where I started, sorry, because I've gone rambled a bit there. It was just that sense, like you were talking about the known and the unknown, and how for a moment there I was like seduced by the known of having a new label to know something by. But that knowing will not last, because it's not based in truth. Whereas I think what have experienced is, when you look to the truth or the fact of we're experiencing different energies, and that will always happen because we're human, then that's all you need to know, or all I need to know, rather than have a different label for something. Yeah. To know it is to know it in experience and truth, rather than to know it through a label. That's maybe the difference I'm seeing.
Isn't it also about the difference between seeing something insightfully, like you've just shared with us, that you've seen insightfully that it's really just energy to you. That's your personal truth at the moment. That's how it looks to you. And Bron shared her personal truth, which is this participation thing. But what we're all tempted to do when other people share their kind of emerging understanding is, some of the things just pass us by, but some of them just seem like good ideas, and we think, oh, maybe I should adopt that in my belief system, and maybe that will help me do better. But that's not really what we're talking about here, is it? Because change happens when we see things deeply, and kind of our world structure, the world we're looking at, starts to look different. So if you've seen that energy piece insightfully, then that is what will kind of show up for you in situations where that's relevant in the future. None of this is about kind of adopting good ideas, although we're all tempted to do it over and over again when other people share ones that we like.
Yeah, that's a very, very helpful point, Frank. Yeah, very helpful to remember that's not what we're not looking for ideas to adopt. Yeah.
And have you noticed how, so, you know, we did the course, and since then, I mean, I personally feel like I've learned so much since I'm just living it and observing how it feels and how I react and how it all works, but like for itself in my own life sort of thing. And like the course is sort of was this guiding you to explore, but then is the exploring and the living it that makes it happen. And I now it's not just something I've heard, it's really I've lived it. So I could really see it. I can really see it for myself now. And that's why I think now I can sort of use it better, because I know, like with this file, I knew I'll be fine. Even if I didn't find a file, I would have been fine, right? And just that, it's like, until you really believe in it, everyone can tell you like that you'll be fine. Until you believe it, you won't be, you know, it won't work. So I really, and I think this space, I wanted to, say thank you to everyone for like being here every week. Is because when we talk about it, I think that's it. We have this, oh, I'm going to think about that. Oh, I didn't think about that way. And then you explore during the week. And this space, like Bron, like, oh, thank you for having this idea, like in the first place, that Friday where, oh, shall we do something? Because I don't think I'll be like here in my little journey without having all this conversation. So thank you for that.
Agree.
Yeah, second that. Definitely. There's something very special about coming together with other people to hear their reflections, but also to say out loud your own reflections. It's an opportunity to, I guess, just keep reminding yourself to look in this direction, I suppose. Especially when most of the world doesn't. It's so easy to start looking the other way when everybody else is caught up.
So cute. You're all matching.
I like that we got our two consultants that came in briefly, Bron, to make sure we were all on track. Just our kind of Saturday check-in. They all there, they all present, take the register.
Oh my gosh, yes. All beginning to become a bit riotous out there. Peasants are rebelling. No, it's lovely. I really, really, thank you. It's lovely to come and listen and share and everything. It's really fun.
Can I read a short poem?
Yes, please.
So this is from a book of poems written by Sue Pettit, who's Bill Pettit's first wife. She died of cancer some years ago. But she was also somebody who spent a lot of time with this understanding, and all the poems kind of relate to what we talk about, which is really lovely. The book is called Coming Home, and this poem is the title poem. Coming home to peace and quiet, coming home to feelings warm, coming home where there's a fullness, where love in me is born. Coming home's a simple journey, takes no movement on my part. Instead of listening to my thoughts, I listen with my heart. God, you can see in my face how much that affected me. Woo.
It's gorgeous.
There's lovely ones in here. I'll start a new tradition. I'll read one each week.
Thank you, Frank. That was lovely. My heart's full of love with all of you. Do you guys want to carry on talking? Are we done?
Feel done with that beautiful space. Place.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Thank you. Have a lovely week, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.